Hi everyone, my name is Owl. I am a artist based in Charlotte, North Carolina. I primarily do street art, murals, and studio work, but my work can be enjoyed in many forms. Today, I'm actually going to be showing you guys the art of stencil making. We are going to be using different materials and techniques to use two different designs to create a abstract composition. This is just one example of how to use the different color palettes that we have available, but this design is just one way of doing it. Again, you can be as creative as you want through this process. I'll show you what that looks like. So for materials, we're going to be needing obviously a couple of sheets of paper or cardstock. If you have Bristol board is ideal for stencil making, but it's not necessary. So if you have plain and simple copier paper, that also works. We're going to be needing a couple of sheets, so I would say give yourself about 10 to 15 sheets if you have access to them. We're going to be using some tape. This is to tape down our stencils whenever we're getting ready to spray. We're going to be using some scissors. This is to cut the stencil that we're going to be designing. A ruler or a straight edge in case you want to have more symmetrical and precise measurements. A pencil so that we can draw the design that we're going to be cutting out with our scissors. And then lastly, we're going to need 2 colors of spray paint, preferably something that's a little darker and something that's lighter. We have professional grade here, but you can use anything at Home Depot or Lowe's, so you can use any spray paint that's available to you. So this is what we're going to need for our stencil making. So our first shape is going to be a perfect circle. So in order to do that, we're going to grab our sheet of paper, cardboard or Bristol board, and we're going to go ahead and fold it in half. This is going to allow for that symmetry to happen. So we want to make sure that we're folding it in half. Then just grab something that resembles something round. In this case, I have a candle holder that I'm going to be using to make my mark. So I'm just going to sketch out this circle. And then now with my scissors, I'm going to be cutting that shape out. It doesn't have to be perfect, but obviously the more precise you are, the cleaner this is going to look. And so you should be left with a perfect circle. Don't worry too much if it looks like it's not all the way how you would want it. You can always go back and reshape or change anything. So we should be ready to go with our first stencil. Our second stencil is going to be this one, which is a little bit more complicated. Again, we're going to have a sheet of paper or cardstock or Bristol board. We're going to go ahead and fold it in half once again. And here's where we're going to be creative. We can use our ruler if we need to make any straight edges, if you guys want to do more of a pointy star edge or any shape that had more straight edges. I really like the fluidity of abstraction, so what I did is I'm going to pick these points on the paper, and then I'm going to create, this is about halfway, so I'm going to create a couple of waves that all connect around the same area. I'm not trying to be super perfect. I like accidents that happen from creativity. So I'm gonna just stay very open-minded and finish off like that. So once I have that, I have a shape that I want to cut out. Again, you can get creative. What we don't want to do is actually get to the other side. So we want a closed shape, just like the circle is closed. We want a shape that is closed. So once we have that, we'll start cutting out our shape. And this is where you want to make sure that you are as careful. Make sure that you have a good grasp of your scissors. If you have an X-Acto knife and you would rather use that, you can also use that, but you don't have to. This is just a safe way to use stencil making. So once you're done, you should be left with a stencil that looks like this and a negative shape that looks something like this. This could be fun for something extra, but again, I just wanted to show you how this would come out once you cut it out. So we have those two stencils ready, and now we're going to prepare to move to the spraying part of our workshop. All right, so right now we're outside. We're going to be painting outdoors, and so make sure you have your spray paint with you. You want to make sure that you are in an open area with hopefully a mask if you have one. I want you to go ahead and grab your cans and just shake them. You're gonna shake them for at least a minute or two. This is going to ensure that our paint doesn't run and or clump up or have any issues upon application. So make sure that you're shaking these cans properly. The other thing that we have set up here is just a board, an artist board. It doesn't have to be that. It could be a piece of cardboard. Anything that's outside that you can spray and it could get damaged is fine. You just don't want to do it against your house or against anything that could potentially be damaged, and you don't want it to be damaged. The second part of this process is going to be securing our stencils to the board so that we can spray it properly. So the first one, using your tape, go ahead and tape it to the top of the board. And then we're gonna use the other one and lay it right on top and put the tape on the bottom. You want to make sure that it's aligned so that whenever we're spraying, this is the area that has focused. So here we're just gonna flip one down, flip the other one up, and in the middle is where we're gonna be putting our piece of paper. Again, grab a couple pieces of tape to secure. And we have the same size paper, but you can use any size paper. So here's where we're just gonna double check and make sure that this lands well. All right. So this is just setting up, getting ready to paint. All right, now that we have our piece of paper down, we're gonna go ahead and start with the first layer. So we're gonna lay down the circle. And before you go on to the paper, do a couple of test sprays away from your paper, just to make sure that there's enough paint coming out and it's not clogged up, or you have a cap that's clogged up. You want to make sure that everything's good before we start. So at a safe distance, we're gonna go ahead and just fill in the shape, but make sure that we're not too close or too far away. If we're too far away, the spray paint's gonna get everywhere. But if we're too close, it's gonna clump up. So let's start. You also don't want to overload it with paint. So here's where we're gonna let it dry for a few minutes. So I would say give it a 2-3 minutes to dry. All right, now that it's dry, you can touch it, make sure that it's dry. We should be able to lift it up and we should have a perfect orange circle. Now we're gonna lift up the second layer of this stencil. Make sure that it's laying on there right. And we probably wanna put a couple more pieces of tape just to secure it. So go ahead and grab your second color and make sure that you have enough room so that it's not hitting inside of these spots. If you feel like this is getting in the way, you can also put a couple of pieces of tape under it to make sure that it doesn't flop. So we're gonna start by hitting from the outside in. All right, and here we're gonna let it dry once again. We don't want to clunk too much paint, so if you feel like it's dripping, just slow down and step back a little bit more. All right, it's been a couple of minutes, so this should be dry. Let's go ahead and take the tape that was securing our piece of paper down. We're gonna remove that second stencil and you should be left with your final product. And again, you can have as much creativity as you want. You can keep using the same color palette and invert the colors. So we're gonna give it a couple of tries doing a couple of different colors and using the negative shape that we cut out. We're gonna try to see how it would look if we sprayed on it. Alright, lastly I wanted to show you what you could do with the negative shape that you cut out. So this is the shape that came from our bottom stencil, and what I did is I placed some tape in the back to make sure that it would stay in place. So I'm just gonna tape it right to the middle. And if you see that there's any other areas that are sticking up on your design and you want to secure them, feel free to do so. So once you have that, I'm gonna go ahead and spray. And again, let it dry. That way it has enough time for it to not be too sticky. And once it's dry, you can carefully peel it off. And there you have, it's another way of making a stencil. So you can cut out as many different shapes as you want. You can even use these shapes to add on to other things. So stencil making doesn't stop at one stage. This is just one part of the process. I hope you have enjoyed your time today, and I hope you get creative with all your stencils. Alright guys, so this is what we did today. I hope that you all can take some inspiration from what we did and create your own set of stencils. Once again, my name is Owl. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope that you enjoy this workshop as much as I have. Have an awesome day and stay creative.